What do you feel like doing this weekend? Anything you like. I'm easy. I ask you, what do you want? That pause, that smile that comes before a feeling lands, and that quick response before a moment to check in with the self. That is the fun part. What it looks like in romantic relationships. How does it feel like in your body when that fun part is taking over your internal system? How does that impact your long term relationship and your own well being? What is the part, the fun part, is trying to protect, and what is the function of the fun part? Today, we're exploring all of those questions, and I will give you some tips and guidances as for how to embrace this part of you and making space for other parts and other energy to come in. And there is a standalone meditation in the end, so don't miss that. Welcome back to the Happiness Game podcast. My name is Yizhao Martins. I'm a licensed marriage family therapist in the state of California, and my specialty is somatic couples therapy. I'm recording this video in the beautiful Swarthmore College in near Philadelphia, and where I'm attending the System Center Therapy Conference this year. Let's dig in. So we have one partner that's very comfortable and bring this natural self to the relationship, their moods, their humor, their preferences. And yet we have the other partner that is holding in, their nervous system is working really hard all the time, scanning, analyzing, interpreting, and trying really hard constantly to attune, to mirror, to anticipate other people's needs and to mold themselves into this relationship. We're going to look at this part, the fun part, from three lenses. The first one is the nervous system lens, how this fun part is a response of our nervous system, that the energy get organized in this way. And secondly, we'll look at it, how adaptive this part is that serves a purpose for our survival needs. And it is not something to be diagnosed and criticized, but something to be recognized and embraced. The third one, we'll look at it from a developmental model, which is from the Couples Institute, that is talking about differentiation and how, when the honeymoon period ends, differentiation is the goal in the relationship development, and how this fun part is a voice to resist this development, and how this part is struggling to bring us forward in the developmental stage of our relationship. So let's look at the nervous system. For the past couple of weeks, if you've been listening, following my podcast, you can go back and see I have explored the fight, flight, and last week we explored fixed part, and today we're talking about the fawn. Think about a child that grew up in an environment when the caregiver only validates the child when the child is being either helpful, agreeable, we're attuned to the caregiver's emotions and needs. And the only way they get validation and attention and love and even shelter and food is by behaving that way. And that's how we are used to organize our energy in order to survive and to have a relationship with our caregiver. So it was very helpful for the child to survive that way. And yet it has been practiced and its energy being organized in that way for so long, and it become very familiar and comfortable. So whenever the relationship progressed after the honeymoon periods ended, as we talked about, and there's differences coming up developmentally, that is our role and our goal, to integrate those differences. And how can we acknowledge the other person, see the other person and their reality, their preferences, at the same time we hold on to ourselves and who we are. I have no idea how many times my couples clients told me their goal for couple therapy is, how can I be myself, comfortably be myself in this relationship without losing myself? What a wonderful goal. That is a great summary of differentiation. to be in a relationship, be who you are comfortably, have your preferences, well, be intimate relationship with another human being. So our nervous system, if we're already tailored and practiced many times to mask ourselves for who we are and to mold, think about chameleon, to be like the other person, and we're not comfortable with the differences. Differences will show up for us like a warning sign that danger is not just discomfort. It is more that, oh, there's a risk of me being targeted, of me being rejected by the other person and being pushed out of the relationship, or sometimes being harmed in a larger context. So this part is very helpful in molding themselves, in changing shapes, being very adaptable, very attuned to other people's needs and preferences, and masking our own desires, our own uniqueness as human beings. So it is not a disguise or trying to be dishonest and to not sharing who they are. There is a definite need to protect self and to be survival in the relationship, not getting scapegoated. So now let's take a look at it from IFIO perspective, intimacy from the inside out. And there are many parts, and in there talk about interactions. And there's generally a protector, like the fawn part is a protector, similar to fixer part and fight part and flight part. And it's protecting something underneath, and generally a young child, as we talked about, a child that has a desperate need to be seen, to be acknowledged for who they are, and to be loved for who they are, their uniqueness, and without being needing to change shapes. But when the founding part is stepping up to make things work and keep the relationship with the caregiver or with a partner, it is not long lasting though. There's a cost to it. So can you think about what are the costs for someone's fawn part is taking over persistently without giving them a break? I can think of some. When you're constantly energetically attuned to the other person, it is very taxing. And what to show up in my body when I try to do that is there's a lot of tension around the eyes. It's very fixated on the caregiver or the attachment figure. And there's a lot of tension as I was presenting to be the founding partner with a smile. You may notice the smile is your corner of your mouth being pulled to the side, and there's actually tension in the mouth area and in the cheeks, almost like I'm wearing a mask and my face is being really stretched. And what's not said behind that, there's a slight tuck in the chin, so the voice cannot be projected out. And from this place, the only way you can have eye contact, either you look down or you have eye contact by doing this with my eyes, which is a role that I'm lower than the person I'm speaking to. And it's very hard for me to speak up my voice and project my voice that way. So there's also tension in the neck, the mouth, the eyes. What do you notice when you are either taking on this role to try, or if you're very familiar with your founding part, what do you notice in your body that's the indicator that your founding part is taking over to protect you so you can keep the relationship, keep the connection with the other person? So as we said, this part is very helpful, very adaptive, but then the child part never gets this voice out. So it's conveniently kind of close this gap that for the child's desire to be heard and understood, and to create a new neural pathway to practice being who we are, being seen and being acknowledged, and still having a connection with somebody else. So this is a very challenging, even though it's a very supportive and helpful tool to survive. But you see, when the relationships start to develop and we have this need to differentiate, when we are in survival space, it's hard for us to put our energy into development. So when the relationships start to develop as the honeymoon period passes, when we're entering differentiation stage, this part is really activated for the partner who has a huge fawning part. They're like, what's happening? All these differences start to show up. I can't catch up to hide all those differences and trying to smooth it out. And what you may see a lot of behaviors as they will correct themselves very quickly. When they say something and their partner respond with a different preferences, different value, and then they might quickly change their answers. And they also can having this smile on their face that before they really get in touch with their feelings and what to be joyed about. When the other person is raising a challenge, raising a question, the natural response is to take in that information, process it, and then respond. But when the funny part is taking over, you have a quick response. Sure, dear. Yes, dear. Whatever you want, dear. I'm easy. That's really saying, well, your needs and your preference trumps mine, and I'm willing to not express who I am in order to stay in this relationship and connected with you. And what does the long-term effect on their partner? So now we said for the founding partner, it's taxing on the nervous system. Also, it's not very sustainable, isn't it? Can you imagine what's the purpose of being in a relationship with someone for the long term? A lot of people want to be loved and accepted and feeling comfortable around other people, especially if you live with that person. And if you're hiding who you are all the time, that takes a lot of energy that could be used for something else. And for their partner, they may get confused sometimes that because the founding partner cannot hold themselves all the time inside without expressing, there will be moment of sporadically frustration and resentment comes up, and they may feel this push resisting. They say, well, that's okay, we can do that, I guess, but that is a yes, but answer, which really contains two messages. So the receiving partner will be like, what do you really want? And what are you trying to say? I hear two things competing. Which one are you choosing? And then that can create either irritation in them, or sometimes the partner feel like they're walking on eggshells. They don't know what's happening in their partner. They may feel disconnected and lonely, and they almost also they could be induced into dominating and always call the shots. And then long-term wise, the relationship is unbalanced, and that can cause even more conflicts. So what are the things that you can remind yourself? What are the steps you can take if your fawning part is really big right now, taking up all the space in you? Yes, you may already have guessed. Every time I give you the first one is always be aware before you're aware of your state, and there's nothing you can do to change that. I invited you to explore with me what does the founding part show up and feel like in your body. Do you feel resonance with some of the tension I'm talking about? Or are you resonating with maybe with more of the behavior output? Like what do you do? So it might be helpful to capture what you do. See, if you say yes all the time, very quickly, if you apologize for no reason, if you smile, actually you're feeling something else or you don't know how you feel yet, those might be an indicator the founding part is very present and taking over your internal space. So it's good to take a pause and notice how you're feeling inside. Do you notice any tension or any thoughts? What's helpful for you to put a registration on that part, saying, okay, when that shows up, I think my founding part is taking over. And it's good to be noticing that and simply accept it. Okay, it is here. Well, it is here. Oh, and the next thing is to stay curious and ask, what's happened just there? How come the other person says something, I say yes right away? How come when the other person saying, well, I want to talk to you, and you said, okay, sure, before you even know, asked what is the topic about and how long is that and when is that? Isn't that interesting? So stay curious, be compassionate towards yourself. Say, okay, my founding part is taking over. Well, that's a natural response. I want to stay connected with this person and it's serving a purpose to protect me. Now I'm curious what is going on and what does my other parts want? Do I want to have this conversation with this person? How do I want to use my energy? What is my preferences? Those are good questions that we can ask ourselves and be curious. So the second one is be compassionate and stay curious. Yeah. The third one is you can really take some time, if you with practice, to set that time space, saying, oh, you want to talk to me, I hear. um let me think about it, let me feel and see how I feel, and I'll get back to you. So you can always paraphrase what the other person's saying. If your partner is saying, hey honey, can you help me to do this chore this time, and you can repeat what they're saying, reflect saying, you would like me to help you with this chore. Do I get you? hmm And then you buy some time for yourself to sit with it. And then maybe if you can notice the part of Fawning show up, you can say, "Oh, I notice I have an urge to say yes right away, and it's okay. What do I want? Well, maybe we can find out more information, more facts, like when, what, and then I look at my schedule, see if it's doable." And so you have some space to be with you. And put your feet down and ground your feet, saying, oh, what do I want? And you can also get support from other people. You can talk it over with other people, your therapist, your coach, your couple therapist, to help you to voice your values, your preferences, and also your fear of being targeted and being rejected. And the couple therapist can help you facilitate this dialogue and also help contain the other partner for not for their feelings and reactions to you when you change your, if you're always agreeing and suddenly you change, that may elicit a feeling, emotion in the other partner, and the couple therapist can help facilitate that and contain that emotion as well. So after all of that, it's very good to sit and with your little child part, and maybe take some time to do something this part really want, and to be with this part, saying, ask yourself the question, what do you feel like doing right now? And what is that thing that you like to eat? And if you eat something, you notice, I really like this, and you can say something back to yourself like, you really like this, and that's who you are. This is wonderful. So those sounds like self-affirmation in some way and positive self-talk. And those are actually growing this inner child part that hasn't been validated and seen. So you're being your own parent, inner parent work, inner child work, and you're trying to grow that energy. And so you can feel more comfortable and sharing the space with the founding part. So the founding part is not the only one that's taking charge. All right, those are the tips. We're going to get into our meditation. Are you ready? Find a still place. Not a perfect one, just one where you can stop for a few moments. Let the breath arrive on its own. You don't have to summon it. It was already here. Just notice, is there any place in the body that feels held up right now? Shoulders, chest, jaw? There's no need to fix it, just to say hello. Whatever you find there, that holding, that ready to do, it has been working a long time. I want to speak to the part of you that learned to make itself agreeable, the part that reads the room before entering it, that smiles before it knows what it feels, that shapes itself to what the moment seems to need. You develop that for a reason. It kept connection alive when connection felt fragile. That was not nothing. That mattered. And somewhere behind that part, there is a younger place in you, one that never quite got to simply arrive, as itself. I want that place to know you don't have to earn your space here. Not in this moment. Not in this breath. You're welcome here. You're welcome to be your unique self. Stay with whatever is present, even if it's nothing in particular. Even if it's just the ordinary way of being here. That's enough. One more breath. Slow and full in yours. And come back when you're ready. And if you want, you can repeat after me. I'm allowed to take up space. I can be seen without losing connection. My differences do not make me dangerous. I am learning to stay as myself. And next week, we explore the class response. The part that goes quiet and inward when the weight of the relationship becomes too heavy to carry. Thank you for being my friend. See you next week.